Hey everyone. I hope I'm on right now. But hey everyone, I am a little late today. I said last week I was early. Last week I was early. This week I'm a little late, but I'm here. How y'all doing? Hey everybody. Happy Thursday. To welcome to the Queen's Compass. We're back for episode 2. Um, this episode 2, we're going to be talking about hidden cruise port fees you didn't budget for. Okay, so um, so if you don't know who I am, I'm going to reintroduce myself. My name is CJ, and I'm your cruise strategist. I am your travel bestie. I am your neighborhood luxury travel advisor, and I'm here to give you guys just a little, you know, give you a little more information than the average bear would give you. You know what I mean? So last week we were talking about international travel requirements. Okay. And if you missed it, you guys make sure you watch that replay because I have that replay on there, and I also have a little tidbits of important information that I dropped last week, which I felt was very important for people who are trying to travel internationally, either for the first time or they're trying to travel again for, you're trying to travel again either later this year or going into next year and beyond, because they keep coming with um these different fees and different requirements and things like that, so that you can do international travel. And I want you guys to do international travel right. So like I said, if you missed it, go ahead and watch the replay, because everything that I'm going to be talking about this month is kind of correlating with international travel in Europe and all that stuff like that. It's going to all kind of come together. It's all coming together in one. Okay. So, but today we're going to be talking about something a little bit different, but it's kind of incorporating with each other as far as it's sticking with the cruising and everything. So today we're talking about cruise port fees. Now I'm not talking about the cruise port fees that you get that's already included in your fare, because they do have port fees. Usually you have your cruise fare, and then you have your port fees, and then you have taxes and things like that, and all your little surcharges and stuff like that, that's included in your cruise fare. For this one, I'm talking about international travel, and these port fees are different. These are fees that often hit you after you book. So after you've already paid your cruise fare, and sometimes even after you've already departed or you've already boarded the ship, and you're headed to a destination. And yes, these are real fees that you will incur, and these are things that will affect you and your budget if you don't know about them. So this can really surprise you if you don't know about them ahead of time. So that's why I'm here to kind of give you guys that heads up, to let you guys know that these are different. These are fees that you would be incurring once you get on the ship. Okay. So you guys grab your notebooks, take notes, whatever you got to do, or even just come back to this live, and it's going to be on replay. So of course, when you come back to this live, you can also get those tidbits down so that you know. Okay. So let's dive in, y'all. All right. So first off, port fees are charges that are imposed. These charges are imposed by destination, not by the ship. Okay, so the cruise lines themselves do not usually charge you for these fees. They wait until most of them are charged when the actual passenger goes onto shore. So when you go ashore, that's when these fees are incurred. Okay, so let's say you have a destination that charges a fee. That fee is not going to be charged until after you get off the ship and you actually go and explore that destination. So unlike your cruise fare or the taxes that you pay up front, these port fees can be charged on top of what you already get charged. So, and most of these are per person and per port. Okay. So that means if your cruise stops in multiple ports, even if it's in the same country, you can end up getting charged multiple times. Okay. So you'll end up paying the fee each time you dock in that particular country. So if that country is giving you, is charging a fee, a port fee per destination, and if you have three destinations in that same country, so three separate ports, same country, you don't just get charged one time, you get charged every single time that they stop. So, um, I'm gonna show you some examples in a bit. So, let's go ahead and start off with our first country here. Okay, so above me here, you can see that I have the charges up here already. Okay, so it's a breakdown because usually the breakdown is per season. So, especially with Greece. So, we're going to start with Greece because Greece is probably the most talked about destination and it's the hottest destination that we have going on right now. Like a lot of people are going to Greece, a lot of people are the bucket listing themselves to go to Greece. So they definitely put that on their list to go. So this is something that you guys should know. Okay. So because it is that type of destination. So Greece has introduced a cruise passenger fee. Everybody calls it something different. Everybody doesn't call it a cruise passenger fee. Some people call it, something else or whatever. Like different countries have different types of fees that are helping with like restoration and things like that of their countries, over tourism and things like that. So they just charge these fees for whatever reason they choose to charge them for, but they still charge you for that. So anyway, Greece has introduced a cruise passenger fee. It's sometimes even called a tourism fee, with the purpose of supporting their local communities and like just managing over tourism as a whole thing because they have many ports that they have many ports that have these that have over tourism, as they would say. They're trying to preserve their areas. These are historical sites, and they want to kind of keep them up. You know. So this is how this breaks down. So Mykonos and Santorini, if you're in peak season, and peak season is around 20 euros per person, and like you said, that's per call per port. So if you have a itinerary that has Mykonos and Santorini, then you have to pay that 20 euros per person per port. So if you have both of those stops, you have to pay that 20 euros twice. Okay, so all other Greek ports are all around about 5 euros per person per call. So if you get per port. So once you have each port, once you go into each port, you have to pay that fee. Now, this is how it usually works. If you get off of the ship, that's when you pay the fee. Okay. So if you choose not to visit that port, then you will not have to pay to go see that port because you didn't get off the ship. So if you're on the ship and you choose not to get off, and they will know, because the cruise line is going to charge you because the cruise line is getting charged by the country. So they're getting charged by how many people are getting off the ship and going to explore the country. So for each tourist that gets off of the ship, that's what they would pay. And then that would end up on when you have like your um, card that you swipe. You usually get on the ship and you have a onboard card, which you can swipe for drinks, whatever it is that you want to get. If you want to get some souvenirs on the ship, if you want to shop, if you want to get specialty dining, whatever it is that you want to get, all of those things are charged onto your onboard account. So that's what'll happen with your port fees. Your port fees will be charged on your onboard account once you get off the ship. And then, well, not once you get off the ship, but once you return. So when you get off the ship and then once you return, that on board that those fees will be added to your account if you actually got off the ship. Okay. So once that's, if you've been on a cruise before, then you know that once you get off, then you will that on board that card is going to get swiped. It's going to get swiped when you get off, and it's going to get swiped when you get back on. So when you get back on, don't be surprised when you see your those port fees added to there for each port of call that you've done in Greece. Okay, so pay attention to your itineraries and make sure that you budget for that. So if you want to get off on those ports, please budget for that, because you don't want to sit there and end up, because this is per person as well. So if it's you and four children, or you and your husband and two children, whatever, if it's all going to be totaled up, especially if you're in the same cabin. So if you're in the same cabin, then that cabin is going to get charged for each single person that got off the ship and explored those particular areas, those particular ports. And then once you get back, then those will be charged onto your onboard account. But if you did not get off the ship, then you will not be charged those fees. Okay. So that's a way to kind of get through it. But if you want to see those ports, if that's something that you want to do, then that'll be something that you would have to, budget for. Okay. So I do have each of these like I said, listed above me. Okay. And these change by season, of course. You can see that each season has a different amount that you would pay for there. So of course the low season is going to be cheaper. It's going to be reduced rates because there's a lower amount of people that are actually taking in the sites, and it's going to be, if you go during high season, then of course the high season is going to cost you more, just because of the fact that there's more tourism. There's that over tourism that they're talking about, that gives them the authority, or whatever you want to call it, to be able to charge per person, and to make sure that whoever's visiting that port, they're getting that, and they're going to charge the ship that, and the ship's going to charge you. Okay, so that's how it goes. So if your ship stops at Santorini, Greece, and then it stops at another island that's in Greece, you pay twice. Okay, if it stops 3 times in Greece at a port that's in Greece, then you get charged 3 times, and it's charged directly by the cruise line to your onboard account. Okay, and that's going to be after you return from from the port of call. Okay, so it might not be right away. It might not be as soon as you swipe your card and get back on the ship, but it will be soon after. You might go to sleep, wake up, look at your Folio account, and realize you have, $60-$70 on your Folio account that you didn't have before. Okay, and this is not something that you can bypass. The only way you can bypass it is if you don't actually go or get off the ship to get on port of call. Okay, so that's the only way you can bypass it, but you cannot not pay for that fee on your account. Okay, so the next one is Italy. It's Italy, but it's a specific port in Italy. It's Venice. Venice has introduced a city access fee. So they call it a city access fee. And it's for the same purpose that Greece does it for. They do it for the over tourism. Okay, so Venice has introduced a city access fee, and this is not something that the cruise lines add to the fare. Okay, it is a local charge that applies to you if you disembark and walk onto the city's historical center. Okay, so typically this fee is time based on when and how long you're in the city center, and usually when you get off on ports of call with a cruise ship, it's only for a certain amount of time. So if you get there at 9 a.m., you might not leave until 6, and then you can do it for that. But it's still going to charge you for the time frame that the ship is there, not the time frame that you're in the city center, but the time that the actual ship is docked there. Okay, so that's what they mean by the time base. And it ranges from around 5 to 10 euros per person on select dates and times. Like I said, depending on the um, the intensity of how many people, how many tourists, how many cruise ships, things like that. So if you jump off the ship and explore, you know, and you're going to do a whole day, then that fee applies because you're getting off the ship and you're actually going into the port of call. Okay. So if you stay on the ship, this generally does not apply to you if you stay on the ship. So if you've been to Venice before, um, in the past, and you have Venice as a port of call, um, you might want to pass it up if you don't want to pay the extra fee for that. Okay, so I'm moving kind of fast today because I'm going to go ahead because I did, like I said, I did get on a little bit later than I anticipated. So other destinations, so other than Greece and Venice are not the only ones. Other destinations have been experimenting with doing cruise and visitor fees and things like that on top of what they already charge. And of course, if you look above right there, you'll see Amsterdam. Amsterdam has a per passenger day fee, and they call it a day pass fee or a day fee. And in some seasons, they do it. It's not as expensive as the ones that we were just talking about with Greece and Venice, but they are, they can get up there sometimes, especially during high season. So you want to make sure that you know when you're going. You want to make sure you know when it's high season, shoulder season, or when it's low season, because then you can save a lot of money and cut those fees in half almost, and down to almost nothing if you go at the right times. Okay, so here we go. Mexico. Certain Mexico cruises and cruise ports have small passenger taxes as well, and they are actually building up to the point where they're starting small, like 10, $15, something like that, $5 per person per port or something like that. And they're going to gradually increase theirs over time. So they're going to be increasing it from 2026 to 2027 all the way to 2029. And they are going to just keep increasing that to the point, almost about 40 to $45 over time, that initially you're going to be paying for extra fees and destination fees, cruise fares, port costs, and all that stuff like that. So so now I was to tell you guys, I'm gonna tell you guys again how they usually get charged. Okay, so they usually get charged by the cruise line, okay, on your onboard account. What's an onboard account? Your onboard account is your little cruise card, medallion, depending on what cruise line you're on. Everybody has different ones. So most of them have cruise cards, like little cards that you can swipe, keep on use. Some of them have wristbands, some of them have medallions. Some people have just different things that you can be able to keep up with your account and things like that. So that's your onboard account. Your onboard account is basically what is getting charged to you while you're on the ship. Is something that you have to pay off once you get off the ship. Okay, so that's where your gratuities are going to go. If you didn't pay your gratuities in advance, that's where your drinks are going to go. If you didn't buy a drink package, or if you did buy a drink package, it's still going to list all of the drinks that you purchased. That's where your onboard credit is going to go. If you get onboard credit, or if you book with me, you're going to get onboard credit. But if you have onboard credit, that'll also go on there, and that would be what, that would be minusing out whatever, if it's $100 onboard credit, $50, $25, whatever, all of that goes onto your onboard credit. And then, of course, when you're on a cruise ship, it's mostly a cashless system. You're not dealing with cash a lot. So that's what the onboard account is. So if you didn't know what an onboard account is, that's what it is. So meaning that meaning that you will see these port fees or these destination fees or whatever they're calling them, over tourism fees or whatever it is that they want to call it. They give you little nice little names. Uh, but these are what you're going to see once you disembark. Okay. So it's not going to be on your initial ticket price. Okay. It's not going to be there. You're not going to see it. You're going to see a nice little number and you're going to pay that. And you're going to be like, well, I already paid for my cruise. But what is going on is that you're not actually, um, like I said, you're paying per destination, per port. And so if you don't go to that port, then you don't have to pay the fee. So that's why they don't roll it all into one. Because sometimes the ship is not able to go to that particular destination. You never know what's going to happen. We have plenty of cruise ships out here right now that are not going to the destinations that they could go to because of weather conditions, because of particular crises that may be going on in that country. So they just stop going. We have Royal Caribbean right now that's just stopped going to Labadee, which is in Haiti, because there's just stuff going on. You know, they went from doing that. I mean, they did that the first of the year, but just in December they were saying they were going to Labadee, and then all of a sudden in January they were like, "Oh yeah, we just canceled Labadee. We're not going to Labadee." Because things happen, things go on, people start tripping, and then it's what it is. So they have to adjust with the weather. They have to adjust with the system, what's going on in the world. They have to adjust to um, political things, political issues, and things like that. So they're doing the best they can, but no, you're not going to get charged that on your initial ticket. So it's usually applied when you get off the ship and then once you get back on. So if you don't go ashore, some cruise lines are not going to charge you these fees, especially in Greece. So they are per person and per visit, like I was breaking that down before. So even if you have children, um, it doesn't matter. Yes, children gets charged the same amount as adults, as grandma, great grandma, uncle, TT, all of that. Everybody's going to get charged the same thing. There is no child fee. There is no none of that. So there is no discount, none of that. So why do you want to know this before you go? Okay, so this matters because people like to have a budget. People like to be able to know what it is that they're going to spend before they leave. I know I do. I love to know what I'm going to spend, what I'm going to be coming out of pocket for, especially with people only thinking sometimes that they only have to come out of the gratuities and then they're like, oh, okay, I can save my money for my excursions and this and that and whatever. This is on top of that. Okay, so if you're stopping at 3 to 5 ports on your Mediterranean cruise, and those fees can add up real fast, and that can just smash your budget, especially if you had a specific budget in mind, and then you didn't know about these fees because these fees are destination imposed. Okay, they're outside of the cruise line's control, which means that they are very real and they are not going to go away. Okay, they may even go up. So like I said, you want to make sure that you know what season you'll be leaving. And it's always good, like I said last week, to have a great travel advisor to be able to keep you up to speed on that and get you to know exactly what fees is coming up and what you need. Do I need a visa? Do I need a visa to fly over there? Do I need this? Do I need that? You want to know all of these things because you don't want to get turned away. You don't want to lose out on your vacation because you missed out on the things that you were supposed to do. Okay. And like I said, these are out of the cruise line's control. So if they get charged, they not finna eat that. They not finna eat that for you. They ain't gonna eat nothing for you. They gonna charge it to you and make sure, oh, you got off, they're gonna charge you. So if you want to So I'm just telling you so that you can go into your trips prepared and not looking at your onboard account like, what in the world just happened? Because if you have a big family or you're going with somebody and you get off every time, your onboard account is gonna look scary. Your board and onboard account is gonna be $300-400 on top of whatever it is that you pay for gratuities if you don't pay your gratuities up front. And most people don't. I think it's about 50-50 as far as people paying their gratuities in advance, versus just paying it afterwards or just waiting till everybody then. So after now, okay, so I've explained these numbers to you guys, okay? And like I said, just refer to the little thing up there. Um, I want you guys to ask me any questions that you have. If you guys have any questions, you can always come to me, or you can go to your trusted travel advisor and ask them any questions that you may have about this. So if they're not telling you about this, make sure you tell them that I sent you and say, hey, do I have some things that I need to do or some things that I need to put in my budget to make sure that I'm doing that? So if you guys have an itinerary coming up in 2026 or beyond where you're going to the Mediterranean, drop it. Drop your itinerary below and let me know. And I will personally get in touch with you, okay? And give you and point out where your fees might apply, okay? So if you want that person, I will do that for you guys. So if you have an itinerary that is in the Mediterranean or is in Europe, Amsterdam, or even Mexico, okay? Because we have a few places up on here. If any of these places up here you see that you are going to be getting on an itinerary in 2026, 2027, or 2028, because we are booking for 2028 right now. I'm trying to tell you, for any of these places that are stated above, let me know. Drop your itinerary in here and let me know, and I will point out where your fees will apply, and I'll even tell you roughly where it will be, because I know if it's going to be the shoulder season, high season, or low season. Okay, so if you are cruising in Greece or Italy this year, 2026, 2027, 2028, drop your itinerary in the comments. Let me know where you are, and I will get back to you personally and let you know what your fees are going to be, what you guys are looking at, okay? Because this is very, very important. You want to make sure that you get, and if this is going to be your first time, I don't care if it's going to be your first time or if it's going to be your 47th time going on a cruise overseas or on an international cruise. You want to make sure that you have the best time every time you go, okay? All right. So before we wrap up, all right, before we wrap up, because like I said, I'm doing a doggone thing right now. I was only trying to, like, I think I did an hour last week because that was my initial thing. I was just trying to break everything down for everybody and just let them know, especially with the itchiest and all that stuff like that. So like I said, please go back to that one and check it out. It is kind of long, but it's long for a reason. It's long because it's something that needs to be explained a little bit further and a little bit better, okay, than usual. So right here, I was just trying to wrap this up within 30 minutes, and I'm thinking I'm getting it down. So next week, I'm gonna tell you about next week. Next week, we're gonna be talking about cruising smarter and not harder. Okay, I'm gonna give you some cruise hacks that people usually don't talk about and to tell you about. It's going to include like packing hacks. It's going to be packing, for packing smart, how to choose your cruise cabin strategically, depending on how it is that you want your vacation to go. Everybody's different. I can sleep through a tornado, but some people might can't sleep like that. You know what I mean? So that's where it's different parts of the ship that you can be on that'll make sure that you will, get your good night's sleep, or make sure you get, you're closer to the action or whatever it is that you want to do. Okay. And then how to get onboard credits, talk about tips and gratuities, tips that the cruise lines don't always tell you, you know what I mean? Things like that. So next week is gonna be just as impactful, and like I said, make sure that if you guys, didn't, get that, don't have that information, make sure you come back to this live and make sure that you write this down, okay? Now, these are in euros, not in US dollars, but it's roughly probably about a $3.50 difference. So if it says like, if it's $6, then it's probably like around, I mean, €6 or something like that. Then it's probably around 9 or 10 euros, something like that. You can go out and go online or go on, what is it? I think it's like a calculator or something on Google. I looked it up my doggone self just to see what it was, just to see what the exchange rate is. And the exchange rate fluctuates very slightly, but it does fluctuate every now and again. So you also want to keep up on that as well to make sure that you do what you do. Now, if you want to book a Mediterranean cruise, okay, don't be scared. It is what it is. Um, it is what it is. So if you use the tips that I gave you above, you'll have the greatest trip. Okay? So, all right. So I will see you guys next week, same time next Thursday. Like I said, drop your cruise itinerary in the comments if you want personalized feedback, and I will check back on this live to see what it is, and I will basically get back to you personally and make sure that I let you know what it is that you need to do for your specific trip. Okay? So remember, guys, travel prepared, travel confident, and travel smarter. Thank you for joining me tonight, and this is one of first of many of the guidelines that I'm going to help you with, and I'm honored to help you guys travel smarter with clarity and confidence. And I will see you guys next Thursday 5. I'm going to try to be early, but I'm definitely going to be on time. All right, love y'all.